You're saying it's a Christian nation, so everyone who is not Christian, they're basically being told they're going to burn in hell. That means that the nation that they live in believes that people that don't believe in their religion are burning in hell. That's a really big thing to say.
What does it mean to be a Christian nation? Like an official Christian, like America is an actual defined Christian nation. What does that mean? I don't know. I mean, I could come up with some guesses, some assumptions on what I think that could mean. I could come up with some sample definitions if you asked me, but I don't really know. And the people who are calling for it also don't know.
Everybody tell us that this is not a Christian country. It is.
Is a Jewish person going to burn in hell? Yes or no? Yes or no? You just have to answer yes or no. DeVrom's Jewish. Is he going to burn in hell?
I'm right here.
Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life.
So yes.
So which one?
You're saying yes? You're saying yes? Yes?
You're framing me.
You're saying it's a Christian nation, so everyone who is not Christian, they're basically being told they're going to burn in hell. That means that the nation that they live in believes that people that don't believe in their religion are burning in hell. That's a really big thing to say.
They know they want it, but if you ask them specifically what it means, they don't really have much of an answer. They can't straight up tell you what the consequences would be of America being an official Christian nation. Some of them just straight up give the answer of they don't want to be persecuted for being a Christian like they are today. They're not. No one's being persecuted for being a Christian. No one's being told they're going to hell. No one's being told they have to be deported or that they're not allowed to practice Christianity. Citizens are expressing opinions about where Christianity has ended up. So they don't want their feelings hurt. They don't want people to be able to have negative opinions about Christianity or where it's ended up as an organized religion or to contradict them at all. They've been told to want a Christian nation by various leaders, whether that be leaders in the church or Christian leaders in politics. But what those people want is something more sinister than I think what the average American who wants a Christian country wants.
I believe it always has been a Christian nation. I believe that there is a covenant with God, and He will not let this country go, and it will come back to what it was supposed to be, out of the slave state.
Explain that a little bit.
What, the slave?
No, what you mean by what it will become what it was supposed to be. And from your perspective, what does that mean?
My perspective is that under godly instruction and biblical principles, as I believe God created government even in the Bible, and there's like different ways to do things. The goal is to spread the truth as we know it, share Jesus, which is the ultimate truth.
How do we explain then the slave state part of it?
I believe we became a slave state in 1870 when our birth certificates started to get sold to the companies, and so there's like 3 different kinds of laws out there, and I don't understand it completely. I'm still.
So were we Christian while we had slavery here?
Well, being Christian is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
No, I meant as a nation, because we were talking about being a Christian nation. That's what you had said before.
Well, yeah, we were, but many of us were deceived, and many of us were not accountable.
They've been told they want it, so they do want it, without fully understanding what it means, because a lot of them seem to think it means being able to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, to be able to practice Christianity, where you can do that now. No one's telling you can't do that now. So if that's what a Christian nation means to you, then sure, that's what we've got. But I think the Christian nation that these leaders are pushing for is very different from what the layman expects it to be.
And this threat to democracy has made its way to Congress. I mean, my colleague, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, has said, quote, Christian nationalism is actually a good thing. It is an identity that Republicans need to embrace, and I am being attacked by the godless left because I said I am a proud Christian nationalist, end quote. My colleague, Representative Lowen Boebert, said, quote, the church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk, end quote, junk being the Constitution and Bill of Rights. The Bible itself in 2 Corinthians actually warns us against this. Paul warned against this. He warned us against people who would preach of a Christ that differs from the true Christ that we learn about in the Bible. That's exactly what Christian nationalism is doing. I condemn religious extremism everywhere, globally and domestically, and we have to recognize the threat it poses to our most sacred freedoms and root it out everywhere. And I think it's incumbent, especially upon us as Christians, and me as a Christian, to be at the forefront of the fight to ensure that white nationalism and Christian nationalism doesn't see the light of day. Thank you, and I yield back.
I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture, the Bible, is very clear that God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us. And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it.
Roe v. Wade gave constitutional cover to the elective killing of unborn children in America, period. You think about the implications of that on the economy. We're all struggling here to cover the bases of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all the rest. If we had all those able-bodied workers in the economy, we wouldn't be going upside down and toppling over like this. Listen,
the gentleman,
I will not yield. I will not. Roe was a terrible corruption of America's constitutional jurisprudence.
well, that's what
weeks after they're born, you can kill them.
I'm sorry, I gotta take a moment here. You're saying that in California you can kill a newborn baby up to 4 weeks until after it's born?
Absolutely.
That's not true.
That is true.
That's not
They
true.
passed a law in the last year or two.
That is not
They
true.
did.
That's not true.
You need to go do your
That's
research.
100% not true.
You need to do your
Where
research.
did you read that? Be honest.
National news media.
Post-birth abortion. Can you tell me where you read it?
It's been a while.
I've read it so many places I can't name them all. No.
It's hard to name them all right now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So you heard it here first, everybody. You know, I didn't know this until this morning, but now I know that murder is legal in California.
Professor Myers, you are here at the invitation of my Democratic colleagues, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. In his opening statement, my good friend Senator Whitehouse said, I want to quote, reproductive justice is economic justice, close quote. Do you agree with that?
I might, as an economist, use the word rights, but yeah, I do agree with that.
Okay. That's not true for the baby, is it?
Well, first of all, I would refer to a fetus, not
Yeah,
a baby.
but that's, well, a fetus. I refer to it as a baby. That's not true for the baby, is it?
The evidence that I presented to you, Senator Kennedy, was evidence about measurable effects on the lives of women, families.
Right, I got that part, but that's not true for the baby, is it?
I'm sorry, I don't really understand.
Well, it's
the
not
question.
true. Let me be clear.
Let me
I'm
back
sorry.
up. As an economist, I measure effects using data. I'm not here to talk about ethics, assignment of personhood. That's not my
Well, but you
role.
said you agreed with the chairman's statement that reproductive justice is economic justice. There is no economic justice for the baby because the baby's dead, right? And then she'd pull the head out, the crushed skull out, right?
Senator Kennedy, your time has expired here.
Well, you
and
gave
Senator
the
Stabenow is
others
waiting.
plenty of time, Mr. Chairman.
Just letting you know, your time's expired. You have
Okay.
other senators waiting.
Well, I was waiting when you were letting others. I'm sorry you don't want to hear about what happens.
No, I don't think anybody
in
else
an
is
actual
going- I don't think
abortion, but
anybody else
I
is going
thought that
over.
was what we were here to talk about.
No one else has gone over. Some of the witnesses went a little bit long, but on both sides. So
I thought we were here
trying to
about
control that.
protecting mothers and killing babies.
I will start by saying that I made a promise to Miley that her name would not die with her. So that is part of why my activism is so important to me, is so people know who she is. I want to make two statements before I go into my final thing that I would like the committee to know. I think it was Senator Kennedy came to this hearing, knowing that there was going to be a mother here who had to make the difficult decision to terminate a 20-week pregnancy, and he decided it was in his best interest to show a 21-week fetus. And his testimony was nothing but fear-mongering. From my experience, that was not my experience, what he was trying to persuade. Also, Mrs. Call, to answer your question to what he had asked, my procedure was an abortion. It is on my medical paperwork that I had an abortion, even though my daughter was deceased. It's not back and forth. An abortion is a medical procedure, whether that fetus is deceased or not. But I would like to ask the committee to remember my story and to remember that I'm one of thousands, if not millions, of people in this country that need or needed abortion access, and to remember that it's not black and white and one size does not fit all. We can't be putting politics into healthcare decisions, and also to remember these facts that abortion access is essential healthcare, no matter how you want to look at it. It's essential healthcare for so many, and exceptions don't work. I'm a living testimony to that.